Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Matthew. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing good. Good morning to all of our listeners. We have Lana. We have Ramona. Good morning. You have reached. If you don't know who I am and my platform, it's Reflect Live Podcast, and my name is Michelle, and I have Matthew Stefanson here with me, and he is from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Got it.
All right. And we are going to be discussing his acting career. And also, he's an acting coach as well. So we'll get right into it. How have you been doing?
I've been well. Been good.
Did you have a good holiday?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
And our,
You doing?
well, I was just gonna say our winter has been nice compared to what we're used to. So we're enjoying. We're getting a little colder again, but for Winnipeg, it's been a decent winter. So.
Oh my goodness. Couldn't even imagine. For those that are listening, we were just talking and he said that it's about 6 degrees. So I'm not going to complain at all about our weather here.
For us,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we have a short amount of time. So, can you just share a little bit about your journey into your acting world? Like, how did that start?
Gosh, well, since I was a little kid, I just remember auditioning for the school plays, the school Christmas concerts, and like my parents and everyone being surprised just because I was a shyer, quieter kid. So the fact that I wanted to do something like that was surprising. But I do remember, like putting on plays and doing stuff at home, forcing my siblings to do it with me.
How'd that go?
Well, they say they did. I think at times they did. So
yeah, I can see that because I have 2 siblings as well, and I can see, hey, will you? And they'll be like, no, I'm not doing that with you.
Right. Exactly. No, I have 3 sisters, 2 brothers. So the sisters, I was pretty much making them do it with me. But yeah, so just auditioning for plays, doing more so theater at first, musical theater, getting involved with that, and then I do remember, I love films and shows. All that. And I do remember saying to my brother, first I actually said to him, I would love to work in a movie store. And I meant like a Blockbuster, like a video rental store. I actually wanted that. And I remember my brother actually saying, oh, you want to work in the movies, you mean? And I remember having a moment like, oh, could I actually do that? So yeah, so I was very much interested in film and television acting. So started taking classes as a teenager. And then, finding out who the casting directors were, auditioning for stuff, getting my first roles in that, and just kind of keeping at it. So
wow. So let's talk about your first role. And did you go to school for acting?
I attended. It was called the Academy of Acting, so it's like a 2-year program here in Winnipeg. So I attended that, and I just worked with coaches. Honestly, I would go training once a week. There were coaches that would come in from Vancouver. So yeah, just really working at becoming a better actor over the years.
Oh, wow. So talk about your first role and what was that like and how did you train for it? How did you get it?
Yeah. Gosh, I'm just trying to think more so film and TV, what my first one was. I think for film and TV, it was one of my first ones. It was on a TV show called Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. It was a really fun, kind of cool sci-fi show. I remember watching the first season, and the second season came out, and I auditioned and got the role, and super excited. But I remember just being super nervous with my first, professional speaking role.
Sure.
But I do remember like one of the crew members. She was a regular on the show, and she just came to my trailer the first day and was like, hey, do you want to run lines? And I just remember that feeling just great. And I was a lot more relaxed. And she was like, I remember what it's like, having your first role. And she knew I would be nervous. So, so she was just very welcoming, and that was really cool. But I remember like my very first maybe acting role was a school Christmas play. And I played an elf named Mistletoe when I was 10.
Okay.
That was my first acting. But then what really stands out was the year after that, auditioning for the lead role as the Nutcracker. And I remember getting that and just being super excited. And I remember just calling my mom after I got it. And what I was thinking about actually the other day was I'm happy that I still get super excited when I get that role, and still call my mom.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. So, because I know in this industry, I think a lot of actors get sort of jaded over the years, but yeah, I feel like I'm still enjoying it and still having fun. So.
Yeah. Well, and then you said that actors are jaded. Why would you reference that?
Oh, maybe that wasn't the best thing to say. I don't know. I think it's maybe just some actors I see. I think maybe you can take it for granted, or maybe I don't know. I think maybe some actors maybe get roles a lot easier than others. And everyone definitely has their own journey at it for sure. But I do really feel like I'm grateful for my path. I feel like I didn't get roles right away. It kind of took me a while, and I don't know. I really appreciate that, and I think
So on your journey that it took you a while, was how did you process that? So like after rejection after rejection after rejection, and you still stayed with it. How did tell us a little bit about that and how you processed that?
It's a hard thing to process. Yeah. Yeah, it's constant rejection, like you said. But when you just watching other actors' interviews, and like I said, everyone having their own path, and that Matthew Perry was an actor who I just always remember him saying it was probably literally 100 auditions he went on before he got his first role. And I just remember that standing out. I was like, okay, if someone like that can go on 100 auditions and still not get something, then I think I'm doing okay.
I'm doing okay. Yeah, you're exactly right. Exactly right. So what initially sparked your passion for teaching?
I kind of fell into it, honestly. I never thought I would want to be a teacher. I think maybe a little bit of the fear where they say those who can't teach. I don't know, but I don't think that's right. And I honestly fell into it. I had a couple friends who were teaching at the studio I teach at right now. It's Expressions Film Studio. So acting for film and TV for youth. So yeah, they just needed another instructor, asked me if I would. And I was like, yeah, why not? And now it's been, I think, about 8 years, and I absolutely love it. I'm teaching 4 classes a week, and it's great.
Yeah. What sets you apart, your teaching strategy versus your peers?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I definitely have my own style. I feel like I'm mostly teaching the teenagers. So we have really young kids as well, but I think with the teenagers, you can be a little bit more like I'll tease them and make them, and they definitely do the same back to me, obviously.
Sure.
So I feel trying to be relatable with them, having fun. I don't know.
Yeah. So you're more on their level is that which is a good thing when you're teaching teenagers. You don't want to be pompous and act like yeah.
I mean, it's definitely difficult because kids are brutally honest at times too. So, but I do with teaching the teenagers, because again, with my approach just in general with acting, so coming from theater, because theater and film is very teaching for telling people, I remember having a conversation with someone like, okay, so when you're teaching people, are you telling them to practice faces in the mirror? And I'm like, oh wow, is that what you think acting is? And that's fair. It was just a realization that if you're not really in this industry, you don't know.
Right.
But yeah, it's honestly just like when I'm talking to the teenagers. I mean, they're pretty much almost young adults, and it's talking about being vulnerable and connecting to another human being and connecting to your emotions and feelings. And well, adults don't even really want to do that. So teenagers. But anyway, I do remember filling in for one of our youngest classes, and that age group was like 7 years old, right? So they're like little kids, and I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to teach them. I'm not going to talk to them really about connecting to their emotions. Are they going to understand that? What's that going to be like?
Right.
So it was a realization for me. I remember, filling in for the class, and I was like, okay, guys, we're going to do our scenes. do you guys have your lines ready? And kids can learn lines like that. It's like nothing. And they're like, yeah, I got my scene ready. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on in this scene? And I remember this one little boy, he was like, so I walk into the house, or he's like, I walk up to the house and I knock at the door. I was like, okay. So I was like, I expect when I teach the teenagers, I'm like, this is an imaginary. If you're going to have if you need a prop, use an actual prop. If you need to knock on a door, you're going to knock on a door. So the kid's ready to do his scene. He walks up to an imaginary door and he goes, knock, knock, knock. Right? And I just had a moment of laugh, and I was like, right, these kids are here. They're playing. It's imaginary, right? And I think we forget that. Maybe that's kind of what I meant. I'm being jaded as an adult actor. Just we forget that it's fun. That's the reason why we first got into the crazy.
That's true. That's great. I love it. Can you recall a particular, like, a challenging moment in your acting career and how you overcame it?
That's challenging. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe just more so just due to maybe going back to that frustration early on about not getting roles. I feel like you have to learn to just kind of just realize kind of where you fit in, maybe what your type of role that you usually get cast as, and then just kind of learning to be the best at that, right? And being the best you. So I don't know. My advice to everyone is just, I have a lot of students where I was kind of giving them a hard time too about, because a lot of them are like, what do I need to do to get more roles? Do I need to go like try to get an agent right away? And I tell them, I'm like, keep working on your acting, keep working on your craft, just become a stronger, better actor. So again, I'll just always keep saying it. Everyone has a different path. If you were to just try to figure out like, what do I need to do to be a successful actor? Well, I don't think anyone has done it the same way, right? So just know that it's going to be frustrating, and that you're going to have rejection, and but if it's something that you love to do, you'll keep at it.
So Serena, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, who is someone you would love to work with, live or passed on?
Ooh, great question. Passed on, James Dean. For sure. Yeah. And live today, probably like Cillian Murphy or Jude Law.
And you cut out, what was the last one?
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. And why would you choose?
Just huge fans of acting, the characters they chose, their films, and that. So yeah, maybe one day we'll see.
Hey, that sounds good. Ramona says, does seniors and quote unquote old people have a chance at acting?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking about teaching kids, but it's absolutely a career. You can start at any age. We actually do have an adult class that I started teaching as well. And I often will see people who have, retired, and something they want to try. Maybe it was something they've always wanted to do. Absolutely. There's, that's what's great about acting too. There's roles for everyone, all different ages, types, sizes. So
let's pretend that our listeners you're teaching a class right now, an online class. And so if like Ramona, if she's interested in acting, give us some kind of techniques that we can improve upon ourselves.
Sure. I think I would say right away, I feel like a lot of new actors, what I see, they're trying to do something. They're trying to make it something, make the line something. And I'm like, just stop, just say the word, throw it away. Just a lot of people think, that you have to be big, and that's okay. That's great for maybe theater, children's theater or whatever. But it's honestly just really listening to the other person, processing what they said, and then saying your line back. So just connecting, relax. And I know it's easier said than done, right? I tell someone like, relax.
Just connect with the line.
Just connect that you're acting with. Just listen to them.
Okay.
Respond.
Yeah. And I assume it's important to have a connection with who you're working with.
It is for sure. I mean, but
Mhm.
you may not always get that. I mean, I talk to my students too about how like it's so weird. You can get an acting role and you're on set with someone, and maybe you know supposed to have this relationship. Maybe you're you know playing a couple that you're in a relationship, or you're like you're married, and you've
Mhm.
never met them before. And how do you do that? So it's challenging if you're ever if you're fortunate enough, you can like meet the person before and get to know them and build somewhat of a relationship.
Mhm.
But sometimes, yeah, no, you just met them. Hi, nice to meet you. And then boom, suddenly you have to convince the audience that you have this relationship. So
Mm. I
yeah,
can see where that's challenging.
tricky.
Yeah. Miss Lana said, "Would you ever direct or produce?"
Hmm. I think one day for sure. I've done a little bit of directing with the kids at the acting studio because they'll do films. Yeah, I've definitely directed that and I've enjoyed it for sure. So I think definitely one day I can see myself doing more of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. Great questions. Do you see, how do you, so we were talking about trends earlier, and how do you stay up to date with the latest trends and in acting?
Um, Trent. Sorry, was you? I don't. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily.
Mhm. So like whether it's, it seems like that there's movie genres that are, I don't know, maybe like Star Wars, right? So that
Oh,
genre is, we're focusing on that.
right.
How do you, if you're wanting to get a role
Mm.
and in a popular movie, how do you shift from this is typically how I act, and then now I have to go over here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I just when I'm teaching as well, I tell people watch movies, watch TV shows. I'm always surprised. I do law students. They're like, "Oh no, I don't really watch anything." I was like, "How do you not watch anything? This is like the industry that you're interested in." So
Right.
tell them like watch movies and TV shows, but watch good movies and TV shows where you can watch really good stories, good writing, good acting. And yes, there are different genres. So and we definitely do that with the students. We'll have like a week where we focus on horror films where they'll get to scream and die and they do
Hmm.
that, right? Or work on
Neat.
comedy. So yeah, I just definitely just advise people to watch as much that you can. And then I always say, particularly because here in Winnipeg, they film a lot of Hallmark films. So I always advise people watch those movies, watch what they're like, so you have an idea before you audition.
Have you ever been involved in a Hallmark?
I
Yeah.
fun, super fun. And I got to juggle. I can juggle. It's a random talent that I have. And it was so funny because I remember I learned to juggle part of my theater classes as a teenager, and we did it more so as like a focus and concentration exercise. And I always thought like, why juggling? But I actually learned it and I could do it, which is great. But I was like, I'm never going to use this skill until this audition came up. Got a little role as a juggler, so that was
How fun. What if people were going to search for that Hallmark movie? What do you know you remember the name of it?
a Christmas love song.
Christmas Love Song.
For that, it'll probably be out next Christmas. Watch for it. So
Nice. That's awesome. I love that. Can you just oh being a teacher, there's typically always some kind of student that you like to see grow. And can you give us like share a story about a student, one of your favorites, and kind of like where they're at now?
for sure. Well, I have lots of favorites. I'm going to say that too, just because I feel like some of my students might be watching. But I do honestly have lots of favorites. But um, honestly, sometimes I remember talking with some of the other instructors as well, just how like it's some of the students that stand out to you are some of the ones that maybe have behavioral challenges.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
it's funny because I do find a lot of the kids who maybe misbehave or acting up in class are the ones that end up being some of the most talented kids that I see. It's funny how that works.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I remember like again filling in for this class, and everyone warned me before. They're like, "Oh, this kid, like you're gonna end up kicking him out of class. He's just a lot." And he was, and I was kind of watching him, and then I was getting him to do his scene, and he was really good. He was just very like grounded and captivating. very in the scene, and at such a young age. And yeah, and I said to him after, I said, you know what, you did a very good job. You're a very good actor, and when you focus, I think this is something that you could really be good at, and you could, you know, maybe have a career at. And he really looked at me and like was like, wow. And I'm not sure if anyone ever really maybe told
that's
that.
good.
But that was interesting. Yeah. So, but yeah, there's definitely like some kids that definitely stand out. And honestly, we have a lot of kids who have been auditioning, booking roles, and they've been really, you know, doing really well. Some have moved away and been working in LA and all that. But we also have a lot of students who just come because they enjoy it, and maybe they're not going to pursue it as a career, and that's okay. We do see a lot of students that come over the years because they've built friendships, and they come there because, you know, they have their little group, and I think that's the most important.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Is it easy to get on like a Hallmark movie?
I don't know if I would necessarily say easy, but I mean, we have enough of them here, so just keep at it. You're bound to book something eventually if they're looking for you.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And do you have a lot of students that are on Hallmark?
For sure, yeah. A lot of them have. My nephew this past year just booked his first Hallmark movie, so he got a pretty big part. So that was
fun. So it's in your blood. It's in the family, huh?
I think so. Yeah, it looks like my nephew and niece are both acting, and my brother-in-law as well too. So it's in the family.
That is great. And is your brother-in-law on Hallmark as well?
He's been auditioning. I don't think hasn't booked anything yet, but he's at it. So I'm sure eventually.
That's fun. That's awesome. What's the craziest or most unexpected acting exercise that you had to conduct with your students?
That's a good one. We do some fun ones. A lot that they end up rolling their eyes and groaning, and they hate. Like a lot of them hate improv when we do that. So improvise. Like you don't have a script, you just have to jump up and like come up with something. So often they don't like that because they're, you know, well, I mean, a lot of people don't like it because you like to kind of know what you're going to say, what you're going to do. So, yeah, so a lot of them, those are kind of fun and wacky. Yeah, we'll just do different, like, we do this fun exercise where, we just did it recently with the kids where I'm like, do you guys all like hot chocolate? And they're like, yeah, we're getting hot chocolate. This is great. So we use that as, like I set up a scene where they're in a coffee shop, and I told them, I want you to have, this is your conversation. And we created, you know, music for the background. And I gave them real hot chocolate because the point was I wanted to make it as real as possible. So you know what it feels like when you're actually, because a lot of times when say you're drinking in a scene, they're going to end up, maybe they don't actually have something in the cup, or it's not really hot, and they act like it's not, and they'll do a scene, and I'm like, you just basically you
just chug coffee.
So we do one take where it's real, and then we take away the actual hot chocolate, give the cup. I'm like, hey, now remember, touch the hot mug and that. So yeah, we do fun exercises like that, which is
that's cool. Julian, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Have you ever met Brad Pitt?
I have not. He was here years ago filming a movie. Didn't get to meet him, but probably the most famous person I met was Christopher Walken, which was super exciting. I got to work with him. So he was very nice. But no, not Brad Pitt. Maybe one day.
Nice. That's great. Let's see. Is there anything? So we're at 10:23. Is there anything that you know, like if we have somebody that's wanting to get in the field, what would you like, a crying scene, or you know, here it's difficult to cry. Do you have any techniques on that?
Yeah, honestly, I know like a lot of people say, are there any tricks? I've known actors where maybe they've used like an onion to get the tears. But hey, whatever for you. But honestly, it's just about being truthful, honestly. And that's why like it's harder with kids because I know for me as an actor, I do believe that, you know, using, you know, personal experiences and that to being able to learn how to connect to your emotions. So like in classes, like, well, I remember I had an acting coach that basically said, you know, like when you're training, you're taking classes because you're working your acting muscles, right? It's just like working out your actual muscles. So it's, so you have to train that. You have to be vulnerable, be open, because it's not just faking tears. I mean, you can do that. I think that's more so for theater, but for film, you can't fake it. It's got to be real. It's got to come from a real, truthful place. So, just and I do honestly believe with life experience as you get older, it gets easier because you have to draw from. Right?
Interesting. Is it true? Now they might not do it anymore, but when you have a baby on the scene, that they actually used to pinch the baby to make the baby cry.
Heard that. I feel like honestly, like Alfred Hitchcock did some like weird things. Like I heard something where like if he needed a kid to cry, he actually like went up to them and said something like, I'm going to hurt your parents. And I don't know. I haven't actually worked with a lot of babies. I hope that's not what they do. I don't know.
It might be from like a long time ago, when there's a lot of stuff that we did that we're not allowed to do anymore. But every time I watch a movie that has a baby crying or something, I'm like, did they just get pinched, or is it an AI cry? Automated.
Oh, it's interesting.
I don't know. And then I always wonder if it's actually a real baby, or is it, like in certain scenes, do they use a fake baby?
Certain scenes you can tell for sure that they would use a fake baby when they can get away with it, for sure.
Yeah, that's so funny. Ramona says, I love Hallmark movies. I do too. Yeah. So we have a couple minutes left. What I like to end my podcast with is words of wisdom. So and it doesn't really have to be about enacting or whatever, but can you leave us with just life wisdom or words of wisdom that you live by?
Sure. Yeah. Gosh, I think I'll, just kind of fit the acting, but I think honestly, if you feel like this is something that you've always wanted to do, absolutely just go for it. Give it a shot. I mean, what do you got to lose? And if it's, if you've been at it for a while and you are frustrated, just know if you want to keep going, I feel like you're meant to do this for a reason. You first had the love for it for a reason, so keep at it. And I feel like your time will come. So,
and how do people overcome that? So, well, after rejection, it's, I can, like, if I put myself in your shoes, I can see, wow, I don't, I would probably give up. So how do you tell somebody to stay motivated with this, just without, not just words, but explain that a little bit?
Well, I think I might also just say too, because you just learn as you get older. I don't know if maybe just don't make it your entire life. Like find other things of interest as well. Keep yourself busy with until you get the role. Like keep active, keep healthy, read lots. Like I said, watch movies, educate yourself, learn, grow, take classes. But find other things that you enjoy as well. Because if you are, just waiting around for it, it's gonna feel like forever. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Is there any movies that like your dream role that you want to be on?
I feel like I'd like to play a superhero one day.
Yes.
I mean, I always tend to I love kind of darker suspense films. I love drama. So yeah, I don't know necessarily maybe be like I like playing the bad guy as well. Those are fun roles.
Who's your favorite supervillain?
I'm a Spider-Man fan.
Oh yeah,
for sure. So or villain, but
now would you be Spider-Man or would you be a villain in there?
I'd probably be the bad guy. I think we're getting old for Spider-Man, but they could come for me.
It's that's the intense part is the bad guy,
Sure.
And so how do you, we have about a minute left. How do you change characters from you being such a nice guy to go over to the villain?
Well, I always say to people how do you think you could play a bad guy? Like, what would you do? And you just, we all have, maybe not necessarily dark side, but we all know what it feels like to be really angry or just really mad at someone. So I always just say, use that and put yourself in that other person's shoes.
Well, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. It was a pleasure. And thank you for everybody asking Matthew questions, and good luck to you in your endeavors.
Thanks so much.
Right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.